Sean, we are online.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right, I'd like to get the Board of Directors regular meeting to order here for Wednesday, February 27th. Welcome to the new office. It's nice in here. We'll start off with public comment. Please state your name and address. We'll allow 3 minutes for each public comment. I guess how I'll do it here would be speak at the other end of the table there and stand up if you have any. So we'll open it up.
We have to work with the new system here, right?
Make sure you're on camera.
I'm John Nicholas. I'm the president of the Estes Park EDC. I'm here today at Eric's request just to kind of give you a very brief update and offer to come back and give you a further update in the future. Visit Estes Park has been a very important partner for Estes Park EDC. We've worked closely on a number of things over the years, and with Eric now on board and with good staff in place, we feel like this is a good time to start formally reactivating that partnership. We do have a board vacancy on the board of Estes Park EDC that's available for Visit Estes Park. It really hasn't been filled consistently, I think, since Scott Webermeyer was still on the board. So it would be very useful for us because we have 24 board members. We've added a number of new board members lately, and our last meeting was really an opportunity to talk about a lot of the progress. I know the town on March 12th will be considering the broadband expansion. We've had a lot of workforce housing projects approved over the last year. We've been working on development code issues. We also now have approval for a Colorado Office of Economic Development grant, and have posted a job for a new e-center program manager. This is going to allow us to provide in-depth services to startups. We want to have a focus on outdoor gear and outdoor apparel. It's one of our main focus areas. So I'm going to be sharing this with Eric and Shannon and see if they can think of folks who could be good people to apply. It will also involve us expanding our work with the Small Business Development Center. There's going to be a lot more individual business services in the coming year. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to respond. Christina came along as well, just to give
Sure, I'm Christina Kraft, 533 Big Thompson Avenue. I am here today as the Vice Chair of the Economic Development Corporation of Bank of Colorado here in Estes Park. And just to reiterate our appreciation for the partnership and support with Visit Estes Park over the course of the EDC. We have a lot of exciting progress between child care initiatives, broadband, and various other things. So especially with the e-center efforts and the focus on outdoor gear and apparel and what you all do, I think it's a sound partnership that makes a lot of sense. Bank of Colorado is a big supporter of the EDC, both as an investor and providing space for the EDC to operate out of. So from both a board member and a partner with the EDC in the community, and as a community member, understanding the importance of workforce, child care, various things like that. I appreciate the support of this entity and the continued partnership. And as John said, if there's any questions you all have about the EDC or what we do, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. And thanks again. Appreciate the support.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to our reports, our Rocky Mountain National Park update.
Hi everybody. Seems like it's been a while, because it's been a while. So I think last time I had the opportunity to meet with you all was in November. So I just wanted to give a couple of just general overviews. I think mainly I'm just going to start with the wonderful thing we all experienced that kicked in on the day of, well, late December 21st. Really, for most of us, the morning of December 22nd, it was very different than any we've experienced before. It was historic. It's always fun to be part of a historic event. 35 days, and the rules of engagement changed, as you all are aware, during it. So I, first of all, want to say thank you so much for all of your support. You know, certainly Visit Estes Park sending out information We were on our heels for being able to provide information about the park. And so, you know, our good partnership and relationship, I think, helps in a situation like that. We initially, for those of you that haven't experienced a shutdown before, it varies depending upon, again, the rules of engagement. So previous shutdowns, we basically swung the gate and that was it. This one, we were not able to provide any visitor services, including sharing information. So it was basically send out information on social media and website, but then don't necessarily update that information unless there's significant changes. So that's why I felt like you guys, here I am again. Go away, here I am again, I go away. So again, thank you for your patience. I think you guys were getting the rhythm after a while and why we were needing to do what we were doing. So what happened is we had a snowstorm, enough of a snowstorm on the Sunday, and the winds, obviously the drifting. We were not able to provide any of the snow plowing, grading, sanding. And it's hard, right, when you're at Beaver Meadows Visitor Center because you're not seeing a lot of snow, but up above Deer Ridge Junction and Bear Lake, we were trying to send photos just to kind of say there's quite a bit of snow up there. And a lot of it was just you have to be able to maintain it. It's not enough to plow. Some of our visitors this time of year just are not prepared for those kind of conditions. Then, as we know, so then the rules of engagement changed again when we were able to use fee funds. The National Park Service and actually the Department of Interior made that determination, I believe on early, I think it was right around January 12th, a few days prior to that. So we were able to bring in basic folks, snowplow operators, but very limited, and custodial to start going to some of our outside areas. You all, I think, saw the news release as far as thanking the community for the support. You know, Debbie and I were talking about it earlier, and we did very well compared to some other parks, particularly in California. It was their busiest time. And so, unfortunately, they dealt with stuff. We also, you know, I'm proud of our folks because I think we also did a lot of proactive things at Rocky so that that wouldn't happen. You know, one of our facility folks came up with the idea to, like, literally shrink wrap a lot of our trash facilities, particularly at Lumpy Ridge and Lily Lake. I don't think if we would have done that, I think we would have seen similar things probably to what we saw at the Washington Memorial and Washington Monument, where people just started setting trash next to canisters. It would have been a bigger issue here with wildlife and everything. So I, you know, just again, proud of our community, proud of a lot of our visitors who stepped up, who even, you know, would make comments about we're trying to do what we can do, and it was. You know, a lot of them were trying to do it very discreetly to help protect the place that they love. So, you know, there's a lot of good that comes out of things like this too. So we were able to bring fee funds back, and we reopened. We were able to start doing all of that and reopen the road back on January 14th. So that's why things kind of changed. I think you all knew that, but I just wanted to have a little bit of a debrief and a recap with you all on how that was different. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move on to just some other quick updates?
No.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. So I think you all got our December visitation, and you see that it was a little bit, just slightly up above 2016. So record visitation for us. You know, our visitation really wasn't altered that much during the shutdown because our roads were open, which is the main area we count, through December 24th, right? So really it was just a couple of days, and it was very busy in the park. We run as Visitor Center on December 25th. People were walking up the road and experiencing it that way, so we still have a high visitation over the holidays. So you all saw that, and then January, maybe a little bit, you know, more of an issue of us trying to just guess what our visitation was. So we were very conservative. We said about 200 people walk in, you know, during that time frame. Our weekends are still very busy. I think a lot of it might be day users too, you know, that are just driving up. So it might not be reflected in some of the things in the community. But particularly, I think when the roads reopened, you know, people were like, yes, I can get up to Hidden Valley now. I can get up to Bear Lake now. So I think we probably had a little surge. Yeah, a little blip in that as well. So you all have those January recreational visitors. It'll be interesting to see what holds for February. We should know that in a couple of weeks. So that's what I got for you all. Spring is in the air, certainly, with birds. But I think this is when we all just need to continue to be mindful. We're seeing more and more people that are calling us thinking it's true spring. And, you know, they're calling from the East Coast, right? They're calling from southern parts of the country. And it's kind of hilarious because they'll just pause when we say we've got this many inches of snow at Bear Lake, and they're like, we've got flowers here. And so I think, you know, continuing to set expectations is important for us as far as safety, because we see this is the time of year where people come up that just really, truly are not prepared for winter conditions. So this is that time of year where it's great to work together on some of those messaging. That's it for me. You guys have any questions for me?
No, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
All right, here. Move on to the approval of the agenda. Today, have an executive session to discuss next steps of the audit. And also, we do have election of board officers, new meeting schedule, and reserve fund investment change. Anybody have any objections or want to add or subtract anything from the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any comment? All right, let's take your votes.
Aye. Sorry.
Aye.
All right.
It's
Just tried to
different.
make sure.
We're not
I was like, so why are you saying sorry? You just said aye. Got me started.
All right, so we'll move on. So we'll start with our President and CEO report.
Thank you. So I've been here now for 6 weeks, I think, so that's pretty cool. Weeks are flying by. I have been meeting with a lot of stakeholders and leaders and people out in the community, as well as of course our staff and vendors, and so getting a good feel for what's going on. We're looking at different things where we can improve and do some things that will help to enhance our marketing efforts. One of the key things that we really need to do is start to work on a 3-year strategic plan. And so we've actually asked the governance committee to help us structure the meetings set up for that. So I anticipate that we'll probably need to have at least 2 board meetings. One would be not an actual board meeting, it would actually be a planning study session. Gotta get all the lingo. So, and then we'll also include the staff and have a couple of meetings there with staff, and then I anticipate at least 1 stakeholder meeting too, just to get some outside input. Our strategic plan, once we do have it completed, we'd like to have that in place by around August, because then we're going to be getting into our operating plan and the design of that. And the strategic plan will really help direct the operating plan. And so the operating plan is going to be complete in September. That's our target. So that kind of gives you the roadmap, if you reverse engineer it, what we have to do as far as planning for the strategic plan part of it. Also, just in reviewing past strategic plans and our current operating plan, there's a lot of great objectives and goals that are pretty good, so we can work with that as a framework. And I anticipate that we'll be massaging that and reviewing all of those as well as a framework for kind of launching into the next 3-year strategic plan. I think a 3-year plan is effective too, because obviously you want to be able to adjust your plan as time goes on to take advantage of opportunities or in response to crisis things that happen. And so I think that's a pretty good time period to have in place. We will also be reviewing things like our mission statement, our vision statement, making sure it's solid and we like where it's at. And so that's just a couple of things. With regards to our brand new transparency page, have you guys visited that yet? Great. So we're still updating it. In fact, we updated some of it today. And so we'll continue to add more elements to it. I think it's getting pretty close to where we want it now. But that also includes the new dashboard. I don't know if you looked at that. But I think that's a nice format, the way that we created it, so that it's a visual as well as the text components of it. So it's what we call a pictograph, right? And that's what we're also anticipating sharing in our local newspapers, so that the public will have a good awareness of what's going on. And then when we publish in the newspaper, we'll also let them know about where they can go to see that page. So that'll help get the word out. We're also meeting with all of our vendors and getting them all to kind of coordinate and work together so we have a unified marketing message. So from a just a quick marketing update, we have a meeting coming up to go over that with all of them. We're kind of tightening up our marketing messaging and also our campaigns for spring, summer, and fall that are coming up. And so Shannon's been working hard on that. We're also anticipating adding an additional familiarization tour from a PR standpoint. So that'll mean we'll have actually 2 PR FAM tours this year, which will be, I think, one more than we've ever done before. So I think that from the looking at the size of our budget and the size of the organization, we definitely should have at least 2 FAM tours. I mean, I'd like to see it get up to 4, maybe eventually, probably at the peak. But that will help improve value from a standpoint of stories that are written about Estes Park and help improve awareness of our destination. So that's really important. We're going to talk a little bit about the group marketing initiative in a little bit, so that's a separate item, so I'll get to that later. But I do want to say that I think that's an area of great opportunity. Most destination marketing organizations have a group sales component, and that's just a whole market area that we just haven't really tapped into very much. The nice thing about group marketing is that if groups come to Estes Park, they're going to tend to spend about $4 to every $1 that a leisure traveler spends. So they're a little more highly valuable that way. Also, they tend to travel in the off season. So they don't usually travel during the summers, with the exception of maybe weddings and reunions. We're talking about corporate groups and different types of group market. There's a whole bunch of different segments that I think will be a good match for Estes Park. And again, it's just an area of opportunity to help boost our off-season market like we really want to do. So that's part of our mission. And on the stakeholder side, we're updating our database, so we're working on getting that current as much as we can updated. That includes, key contacts, emails, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff, as well as starting to build content from a photography standpoint and listing standpoint for all of the different stakeholders that we have in the market here. And so that's a pretty major effort, but that's needed because we're going to need that information for our new visitors guide, our new website. So it's really a kind of a hand-in-glove piece of that. And Abby's team is working on that. My voice is going. Anyway, that's kind of completes my CEO report. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Eric. Did you have any questions? All right. So move on to the CFO report.
Good afternoon, everybody. As of February 15th, we have closed the books for 2018. We came in almost exactly what we had reappropriated in November of 18 when we voted then. Just wanted to bring a few highlights that did come up. Lodging income was slightly up over the previous year and up over budget. The visitor guide for the second year in a row was fully paid for itself, and full credit goes to Abby for that. So there were no tax funds, again, used to produce the visitor's guide, which is exactly where it should be. Advertising spend was pretty much dead on with budget. However, as we did in November, we did reapportion some more towards that digital component with the trackable to produce that return on investment towards the end of the year. And I believe, as far as the marketing update, and working with Shannon, that arrival list data is starting to flow in from those campaigns. Legal fees were significantly lower than they were in 2017.
Good job, John.
Sorry, John, but or thank you, John, however that might go. Obviously, with that court case in 2017, that skewed that quite heavily, and so as we did adjust the budget accordingly for this year, it should be even lower than it was in 17, or excuse me, in 18. As we look at total net income, we discussed many times that in 2018, the previous board had approved a budget shortfall of $525,000 for that year. Through discussions with the board, we had decided that that was not the best use, especially with the increase of reserve funds. So the total year did come in at $181,000, just in the red as part of the plan. Those came from a decrease of international spend, a very large significant decrease in conference attendance, decrease in membership, and then a decrease in the production cost of the visitor guide, again also with a slight bump on income side. Balance sheet, we ended in a very strong position. The biggest change for 2018 that helped all these positions was a coordinated effort from mostly led by Wendy, but there was a lot of outstanding old debt floating around in town, and Wendy really put in the work and brought that down to almost nothing. So that was a really great thing that wrapped up 2018.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I had nothing. Full credit to Wendy on that one.
You can work for me.
I'm not. I'm too nice to do collections, so I'm not getting good at it. The next thing I wanted to make everybody aware of is we started working on our 2018 comprehensive audit. As this board has approved, we are no longer just doing our audit as part of the town. We will always do an independent audit. To be aware of, there's about 8 to 10 questions that every auditor asks as an initial interview. Very high-level questions. We answered a lot of them in an unusual way this year. Number one, are there any significant changes to management? Yes. Are there any significant changes to internal controls? Well, in the third and fourth quarter of last year, we changed significant controls, purchasing, travel, so yes. And also, as you all know, as you're discussing later, we launched a forensic investigation. So with that, I answered all those questions truthfully and provided all of your contact information should our auditors have any questions in regards to any of those things. So just giving you a heads up that if they reach out to you directly or want a statement in any way, it would most likely come from our chairman. But
Have they reached out to you yet?
No one's reached out yet, no. Okay.
their on-site day is May 13th, I believe. Yeah, May 13th.
Monday.
And so we're just in the early stages of preparing them work, but I just wanted to get it on your radar so you weren't blindsided by that.
Okay, thank you.
The transparency state, Eric already covered. That was a commitment that I had given to the trail a few months ago, so I wanted to make sure and follow up that we've gone live with that. Sales tax, I had been really confused by sales tax all year, and then Dwayne finally answered the mystery, Dwayne being the finance for the town, and it was because of an Amazon filing. So if you look at sales tax, it looks like we had the world's greatest year. But now Amazon is finally reporting on a local level for last year. So that we can't know exactly what the bump was, but we can all pretty much assume it was significant. So going forward, what's really exciting about sales tax is now going into 2019, we're gonna have apples to apples. So they're gonna continue to report, all the vendors will be the same, and we'll know where that is. That's all I have for just kind of the highlights. If there's any questions, I know we're wrapping up 2018. Deb and I will be signing the final document to send to the state to summarize our financials, but there was no deviation from the earlier that we submitted in November, the budget reappropriation, so there shouldn't be any surprises.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we'll move on to our executive session. So I move that, I move pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes, Title 24, Article 6, Section 402, as subsection 4B, to go into executive session for the purpose of consulting with our attorney on specific legal questions regarding the claims account. That's second.
Second.
Right, any comment? Public comment? All right, then we are going to be in executive session.
If I may, real quick, we are going to be turning off the live stream. You have a recording device to record it locally, and then all of us, this door is not super soundproof, so we're all going to go towards the couches.
Sure.
That's
Thank you.
okay, just for everyone.
All right, and then if we